Hey, how's it going? My name is Kay, and I am a freelance videographer. I run a company called Just the Letter K Productions, and I fly drones for a living. I fly for oil and gas industry, solar, construction, robotics and automation. I do a lot of things in the drone world, and I wanted to create this to start a discussion with other drone pilots, and maybe not drone pilots, just enthusiasts themselves. How are we feeling about this drone ban, this DJI drone ban? If you don't know what's going on, you've probably missed a whole lot of information that has been years in the making. But I'm going to fill you guys in a bit. That being said, this will be a collaborative post. I will be posting this not only on the Just the Letter K Productions YouTube channel, where I make tutorials and behind the scenes videos of my corporate gigs and how I make more money as a corporate videographer, as opposed to just somebody that's doing things on like a smaller level, how I've scaled my business, etc. And my podcast channel, Project Freelance, where I talk about freelancing and I interview other people around the world that have started their own businesses, create art, or, do something interesting that I want to learn more about. So yeah, if you are unaware of what's been going on, I'm going to put some links down below for you. I have spoken to a few people over the past several months, several years about this impending DJI drone ban. So if you want to get kind of more information than I will say in this video, you can definitely go check out those podcast episodes. On the 22nd and 23rd, the U.S. Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, added DJI and other foreign-made drones and critical components to its national security covered list. So that essentially means that new models of DJI drones and other foreign-made drones, but this was a specific hit on DJI because they are a Chinese drone maker and supplier. They can no longer receive FCC equipment authorization that is needed to legally import and sell drones in the United States. So that sucks. That sucks for us. And I, over the past, year or so of making videos about this topic, some people in the comments are like, well, just buy US made drones. Like, this is great for US made drone companies. Like, we can just start, building drones in America. Okay, well, the reason we bought DJI is because China is way, way farther ahead in technology than America is. You can't even argue that point. DJI has made the best drone equipment ever. And now that this ban has been implemented, we're going to be like stuck. We're going to plateau where we're at with drones, and that sucks. And I think that's why people are mostly upset about this. But I do want to talk about some important distinctions that people may not quite understand when it comes to this drone ban and how it will affect drone pilots and what we can do moving forward as drone pilots in America to make it worthwhile to even still fly and operate drones in this country. So I think it's important that we discuss that this is not a retroactive grounding. Like, the drones are not grounded in the US. So I think that was one of the things that people were concerned about, was that you would not be able to fly drones or operate, DJI drones in this country. That is not what's taking place. Essentially, future product launches and imports are effectively blocked unless the FCC and the Department of Defense or Department of Homeland Security clear the items. So it sucks. It's going to slow things down significantly here in America for drone pilots. So these are the things that have not changed for now. Again, this all has an asterisk that this is as of the 24th of December, 2025. This could change tomorrow. This could change next week, next year. They could roll back some of these things if they're seeing, the impact it's having on American drone pilots. But these are the things that have not changed. DJI drones you already own can still be flown legally in the United States. Obviously, you have to comply with the FAA regulations. You have to be a certified and insured drone pilot, especially if you want to do bigger, higher end corporate gigs, or if you want to do anything involving sensitive infrastructure. So, like I said at the beginning of this, I fly for the oil and gas industry, solar industry, robotics and automation. I have insurance for all this stuff. I carry a coverage package, and my coverage package actually also covers my drone. I don't know if that's going to change after this, like damage to the hull, the actual drone. Also, just a side note, if you are looking for drone insurance that either covers you hourly, monthly, annually, or if you're looking for a drone insurance policy that also covers the hull, which is your actual drone, you can add up to 2 drones per account, unless I think you upgrade to the annual, or there you can contact the company for more information. But I highly recommend Skywatch. I currently have my 2 drones on there. See if you can see that a little bit better. So they do hourly, monthly, or annually, and you can, select your plan. If you add more than 1 drone, it does charge you a bit more on the actual policy, but I have 2 drones in there right now. And then the company that I film rocket launches with, Interstellar Gateway, we have 1 drone on that account over there. We will be adding another one shortly. But yeah, first of all, you should have drone insurance. If you don't, I don't know what you're even trying to do out here as a professional. Any professional business that is trying to operate around either sensitive infrastructure around humans, like if you fly at music festivals, concerts, events, that type of stuff, or in populated areas, you need to have drone insurance, period. And if you don't fly drones, if you're just a videographer, you should still have business insurance as well, especially cyber insurance. So like if your client's material if your Google Drive gets hacked into and there's sensitive client information or anything like that, you're going to want to have cyber insurance as well. For that, I go through full frame insurance for my business, and that covers me as a videography and photography business. So the next thing that hasn't changed, the FAA flight rules, recreational and Part 107 rules have not changed for existing DJI aircraft. And retailers can still sell existing stock of models that were already approved before this FCC action. So that being said, current DJI owners are not being forced to ground their drones again. I just want to let you guys know. But the future availability of new models is going to be dramatically limited, and that is where the problems come in. By the way, the reason all of this happened, the FCC's move comes after a provision of the 2025 National Defense Authorization Act that requires a national security review of DJI by December 23rd, 2025. No public clearance audit was completed by that deadline, triggering the consequence of adding foreign drones to the covered list. So basically, because there was no action on this, it automatically triggered this ban to go into effect, which is freaking ridiculous. But the FCC and the White House framed the decision around national security, citing concerns about potential surveillance or data access risks. If you guys are unaware, a lot of military personnel actually has used DJI products in the past. So have the police, so have search and rescue, firefighters. There's so many use cases in the public sector that have used DJI for amazing things, and now they're going to have to switch over to a much more expensive option that is US made, which, like, great, US made, love that we're making things here. But again, the technology is about 10 years behind China, and they're going to be significantly more expensive to be made here and to buy them here. And there are different companies in the US that are already operating and selling drones that are much more expensive and not as good. But I do hope, if there's one good thing that comes out of this, is that more like small time independent creators go into like the drone manufacturing business. I think that that's probably our like best option for the time being. But again, it's going to take time to meet the expectations we have on the quality of drones compared to a DJI. Let's talk about what this means for the drone community. So the immediate impacts, obviously, the new models of DJI drones are effectively blocked in the United States for import and sale. Manufacturers must obtain a national security exemption to sell new foreign models, which is a path that's possible, but it's still very uncertain. For existing operators, the issues are that repairs, parts, firmware support could be harder, slower over time. It's gonna be really difficult to get your drone repaired. So if you have a drone you're currently operating that you smash into a tree, or, something happens to it midair, if you had have a collision while flying, the repairs may be way more costly. They may not even be possible, to be honest. There are some companies in America that do currently repair drones, but that being said, they may not be able to sustain it because getting parts for DJI specific drones is going to be way more costly, way more difficult, and because they're going to have a license to import these products, it may not be worth the cost of having and maintaining that license to do that. So this could be an issue. So I think what we're going to have to do as owners and operators is we're probably going to have to learn how to fix our own stuff, which means like Frankensteining our drones together. So as I said, all that stuff is going to be way more expensive and time consuming. So what we're seeing right now is that some drone pilots are actually stockpiling parts and drones due to the uncertainty, which is only going to jack up the used drone market. And it's going to make those parts limited. But I will say, if you are a drone pilot and you have the funds, if you have the extra capital right now, I would actually highly recommend stockpiling some drones and stockpiling parts while they're still available before those prices increase even more after the new year. Also, it is the end of the year, so I know if you're trying to get some tax write-offs and things like that, now is probably the time to dump a bunch of money into the drone world and get those things while they are still available. Also, I have noticed that, brick and mortar stores like Best Buy, Walmart, anywhere that sells like consumer electronics, I've really stopped seeing DJI drones on the shelves, and I've seen these other Autels and, other companies that have drones as well being sold instead of DJI, which I think is so wild because DJI was like obviously the industry leader for so long, but I think those companies realized that this was probably going to go into effect and they needed to quickly switch over before it even happened. I do want to talk about the industry and the international reaction. Also, I want to know your reactions, your thoughts down in the comments below. Please let me know how you were feeling about this DJI ban. DJI has publicly pushed back on this, saying that the decision lacked transparency. If you don't follow DJI on Instagram, they did post a statement, which I will include in this. I'll put a link. If you're listening, I'll put a link down below. If you are watching, I'm going to put them up on the screen, and I will read them right now for you. So this is their Instagram, DJI Global's statement about the DJI ban. It says, "Thank you to everyone who has been following developments in the US and speaking up. Your support means a lot. Today's update from the FCC does not affect DJI products already in use in the US. Customers can continue to purchase and fly DJI drones as usual. The FCC also notes that new products may be cleared for launch in the future based on determinations by the Department of Defense and the Department of Homeland Security. Concerns about DJI's data security are about protectionism, not evidence. DJI products remain among the safest and most secure on the market, backed by years of reviews by U.S. government agencies and independent third parties. While we are disappointed by this development, we remain committed to our U.S. customers and are actively exploring paths forward. We will keep you informed as more information becomes available. Thank you for standing with us." So here we are. That's DJI's official statement. Curious to see what their plans are to continue pushing forward in the United States. We will have to see where that goes, of course. China's Commerce Ministry criticized the move as discriminatory. Obviously, many drone pilots and service providers are concerned about a shrinking supply of reliable and affordable equipment. Like I talked about, it's going to jack up the prices on everything that is currently available, especially the parts. The last thing I really want to talk about is what we should do as US-based drone operators in response to this, or how can we navigate this space right now. So first of all, don't panic. Obviously, we are still legally allowed to fly these. If you already own a drone, you're still able to fly. The FAA rules have not changed. There's no forced shutdowns, and nothing is suddenly illegal. So first of all, we're okay there. Obviously, you need to make sure all your drones are properly registered. with the FAA. You can do that on their government website. I think it's faa.org/drone or so. I don't know. I'll put the link below for you. So make sure that those are registered and you're remote ID compliant. So make sure you have your Part 107 certificate with you. Make sure you keep updating that. You have to do that like pretty frequently. If you are not a licensed drone pilot, you can actually get licensed. It's pretty simple. You just have to study. If you are looking to study for your drone certification, I highly recommend Drone Pilot Ground School. That's who I went through to get my certification and to get my learning materials for that test. I think I got like a 97% on my actual drone pilot test. So my Part 107 test. So if you are looking for somewhere to study, highly recommend Drone Pilot Ground School. I do have an affiliate link down below if you guys want to get any of their material. Obviously keep your firmware up to date, but avoid unnecessary like updates if your system is stable. Right now, my Mavic Pro has been jittering, which is really annoying. So I don't know if that's a firmware update or if I need to get it sent in. So I'm still trying to troubleshoot that and figure out what to do moving forward with that. It is really frustrating because I do like the quality of that drone, but that's where we're at. But just know that DJI support is going to become probably slower and more restricted. So having everything documented now definitely protects you if you do have questions in the future. Also with that remote ID stuff, you need to have your FAA license number written in black Sharpie or marker on your drone. It has to be visible. So just make sure you guys are following the necessary steps and protocols as per the FAA's rules. I'm not a tutor. Don't ask me. Just do your own research. So what we should consider right now as pilots, as far as like what we should stock up on, and I'll put a bunch of links down below for you guys. Obviously, extra batteries, extra props, chargers, any critical cables and accessories that you may need. Obviously, don't panic buy a bunch of shit that you don't need. I would just get things that you know you need. The situation's obviously evolving. It's not like collapsing overnight. Like, don't go full COVID pandemic mode and buy off the shelves. But yeah, I would say for safekeeping, I would stock what keeps you operational for 6 to 12 months moving forward. Not something that empties your entire savings account. That is not the way. As far as other things to kind of consider, I would back up your data and your mission logs just in case the support ecosystem changes. So you can export those flight logs, back up your mission files, save your calibration data, all that stuff. This is very important, especially if you're doing inspections, mapping, construction, public safety work, because DJI's, system, like their app could just stop working in the US if they don't find a reason, or if it's not financially viable for them to keep that operating. So make sure you export all that stuff and keep it somewhere that you have access to. I would obviously start evaluating backup platforms. Obviously, you don't need to like fully jump ship, but you should at least be informed. Research some US-based or NDAA compliant drone companies. Learn some alternative flight apps as well. And workflows, and test some non-DJI platforms before you are forced to. It's not fun to like have to learn something because you lost the thing that you first learned on. So just like do your research and start educating yourself on alternatives just in case. And then something that's really important if you are making money off of this, you need to really communicate with your clients proactively. So if you fly commercially, obviously reassure your clients that operations are unaffected. You don't want to alarm your clients, so that is very important. You need to emphasize that you are continuing to be compliant with the FAA and everything. An example of, an email response to a client that says like, oh, what's up with this DJI drone ban? Can you still fly? Basically, like, all you really need to say is like, there's been a policy change affecting future drone sales, but current operations remain fully compliant and uninterrupted. That being said, because we are going to have a harder time getting parts and replacements and servicing, it may actually benefit you to charge a bit more for drone flights moving forward into the next year, because it does become a higher risk to fly these DJI products now that the parts are going to be harder to come by and that servicing is going to become a bit more difficult to get done. So I think that customers should probably understand that. And if they don't, try to explain it to them by saying like, well, because of this drone ban, they are banning new imports of new parts and new equipment that has not been cleared. Obviously that is like new launches, not current products that are already in the US, but just let them know that the cost is going to go up for new parts and repairs. So you just need to, pay me more to fly. How bad do you want this drone footage? It's like getting a chartered flight on an island nation. Like when I went to the Bahamas with my team to film a rocket launch, we had to get a charter flight, and it was basically like, how badly do you want to get to this island? Like, this is how much I charge. This is how much the other pilots charge. Like, it's expensive. And if you really want to get there, we'll get you there, but it's going to cost you a pretty penny. So keep that in mind if you are professionally flying, especially commercially. Overall, this is not the end of DJI, and it's not the end of drones in the United States. It is a warning shot, however, and smart pilots plan ahead instead of panicking. I think that is the main takeaway here, is that we just have to keep our heads about us, our wits about us. And yeah, I mean, that's the way, man. That's the way forward. That's all we can do. But yeah, thank you guys for watching and listening. If you're into this kind of content, if you want to learn more about building a business as a freelancer, I highly recommend my podcast, Project Freelance. You can subscribe on all streaming platforms where you listen to podcasts. There's also a YouTube version. And then I also have Just the Letter K Productions on YouTube, which is kind of more of a behind the scenes of my photography and videography content, as well as some tutorials on how to grow your business, especially as a drone pilot moving into 2026. So thank you guys for watching and listening. I hope that this helped. I hope it was, insightful. I hope you got some information maybe you didn't have before. At the end of the day, just keep doing your research and keep up to date with what's going on. And I appreciate you all watching. I hope you have a happy 2026 full of awesome projects. And I hope that you continue flying drones despite what's going on here. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Stay strong. Keep enduring. Peace.